Okay, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, I'm Muhammad Nash-Farhah bin Nazri and my partner, Nash-Farhah binti Azhar. We like to share with you all about Ijma and Qiyas. Okay, I will take over about Ijma and my partner will take over about Qiyas. Okay, before we discuss more detail about Ijma, we should see the outline to ensure we in the right line. Okay, first we will discuss about introduction and definition and condition for validity of ijma, and then type of ijma, basis of ijma, rule of ijma, and the last one is feasibility of ijma in modern world, or we can call contemporary world. Okay, basically ijma is the third source of Islamic law after Quran and Sunnah, and ijma has been the most important validation of various decisions within Islam for centuries, and absolutely ijma is a binding proof, which is a wajib. Okay, for definition of ijma, actually ijma is originate from the Arabic word ajmi'u, which referring to consensus. According to the literal meaning, unanimous and ijma has the same meaning and concept. Ijma in Arabic has two meaning. First, determination and resolution, based on Suratul Yunus, verse 71. فَأَجْمِعُوا أَمْرَكُمْ وَشُرَكَاءَكُمْ. Determine your plan and among your partner. And the second meaning is unanimous agreement upon something. The Arabic say the pupil agree upon such and such matter. In Arabic, ajmi'ul qawm ala kadha. Okay, in technical meaning, basically there are three items that we must to remember. First, ijma is the consensus of all mujtahidin from the ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the first. The second is after his wafat or after his death, and the third is about a rule of Islamic law, which is hukum syar'i. Okay, ijma is only involve a specific group of people. In traditional concept, it is only the ulama who are capable to achieve consensus, and the consensus of Muslim scholar or ulama can be regarded as conclusive ijma. Okay, condition for validity of ijma, there are seven condition. First, the consensus must take place among mujtahid who have attained the status of ijtihad, which means the agreement among those who have not reached the ijtihad status or who are not qualified, so it will not constitute as ijma. And there are the number of mujtahid available at the time when the issue is encountered, and no ijma can be materialized when there are the only a single mujtahid in the community. And the second condition is unanimity is a prerequisite of ijma, which means the agreement must be unanimous among all the mujtahid, and all mujtahid regardless of their locality, race, color, and school of affinity must reach a consensus on juridical opinion at the time an issue arise. And if there are dissenting view, even on the part of a small minority, it will preclude the possibility of ijma. Okay, the third is all the juries that participate in ijma must be from the ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it based on hadith that is only the Muslim ummah can protect against error in collective agreement. Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, innal ummati lan tajtami' ala dhalalah, in that my ummah should ever agree on an error. Okay, the fourth condition is ijma must be among the mujtahid of a single determined period. It because the reason is that the constitution of ijma depend upon the unanimous agreement of jurists, and this is the only possible in a determined period. The occurrence of ijma should become impossible if the period will leave open. And the fifth condition is the agreement of the mujtahid must be demonstrated by their express opinion on a particular issue, which means this may be verbal or in writing, such as by giving a fatwa in either of this form. And similarly, the mujtahid may give their different their view collectively. For example, the mujtahid of the Muslim world assemble at the time an issue is encountered and reach a consensus over its ruling. And the sixth condition is ijma must be upon the rule of Islamic law, which is hukum syar'i, as we mentioned before in definition. An agreement upon the rule of grammar in Arabic will not be ijma because it's not about hukum syar'i or Islamic law. The rule must state that a certain thing is prohibited, permitted, valid, or void, and all non-legal matter are excluded for the demand of ijma. And the last condition is the agreement must have taken place after the wafat or his death of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It also we mentioned before, the agreement during his life is not considered as ijma. If the Prophet agree with the companion and any issue, so it was the source of a rule which is a sunnah, not ijma. Okay, and for proof of ijma, based on Surah An-Nisa verse 115, وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقِ الرَّسُولَ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الْهُدَى وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ نُوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى وَنُصْلِهِ جَهَنَّمَ وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا. And whoever considered and opposed the messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam after the right path has been shown clearly to him and follow other than the believer way, we should keep him in the path he has chosen and burn him in hell. Na'udzubillah min zalik. Okay, the way of the believer in this verse refer to the agreement of believer and the way that they have chosen to their consensus. Okay, it means adherence to the way of community is binding and departure from it is forbidden, because departure from the believer way has been approximated to disobey the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, there are two types of ijma. First, explicit ijma, which is a sarih, and tacit ijma, which is a sukuti. Okay, for explicit ijma, which means every mujtahid express his opinion either verbally or by action explicitly. According to the Jumhur ulama, explicit ijma is definitive and binding. So basically the case will be as a follow. First, the question or issue arise and people express their different view, and then there are a discussion on this view, and finally have a common position in agreed upon, and then it can be achieved by writing agreement of mujtahid. Okay, and the second type is tesi ijma, which is sukuti, which means some of mujtahid of a particular age give an express opinion concerning issue or question, while the rest remain silent. So it clearly different between explicit and tacit, which is for explicit is all or every mujtahid express their opinion, but tacit is some of mujtahid. Okay, and tacit ijma is a preceptive ijma, which only create a probability but does not preclude the possibility of fresh ijtihad on the same issue. So it does not imply the definitive agreement of all its participants. The ulama has different over its authority as a proof. There are three groups. First, Hanafi and Hanbali say that this is type of ijma and it valid and acceptable. And the second is Shafi'i and Maliki. They say that this is not ijma and it's not valid evidence. And the third group is some from Hanafi and Shafi'i say that this is not ijma but is a valid evidence. And the third group is the rajih among them, which is most likely among them. Okay, so to make it possible as evidence, there are three conditions. First, the silence must be free of all internal indication that point to agreement or disagreement. If it show agreement, so it is not tacit, rather it is explicit. And if it show disagreement, so no ijma can be said. And the second condition is the silence of mujtahid should be maintained for a considerable period of time, which means the duration cannot be fixed because the issue subject to ijtihad, and the formulation of an opinion require time, which may vary for each mujtahid. And the third condition is the issue must be one in which ijtihad is permitted. If it not permitted, the silence is not considered tacit approval because the juries are not supposed to open up this issue. Right. Okay. Okay. Basis of ijma. Basically, to make any hukum must be a support by evidence. So it's same with ijma. To make a hukum must be a support by evidence, because ijma cannot be ground by personal opinion. Okay, there are four resources for evidence. First, Al-Quran. For example, the ijma of scholar on the prohibition of marriage with the grandmother based on Suratul Nisa, verse 23. حرمت عليكم أمهاتكم وبناتكم إلى آخر الآية, which means forbidden to you for marriage your mother, your daughter. And the word your mother in this verse refer to the origin of woman. So they include grandmother, because this verse established to prohibit for us to marry someone have blood relation with us. And the second resource is Al-Sunnah. For example, the consensus of the scholar on the prohibition of sale of food prior to possession by the buyer, based on the hadith qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, man ibta'a at-ta'am fala yabi'u hatta yaqbidah, which means whoever buy food, let him not sell it until he has taken possession of it. Okay, the third resource is Qiyas. It can be sanad and not. The group of scholar opine that Qiyas cannot be a sanad is Daw al-Zahiri and Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, because according them Qiyas is a probable evidence, while Ijma is a definitive evidence, so it's not proper to construct definitive evidence upon the probable evidence. While the majority of scholars accept Qiyas as a valid sanad of Ijma, and absolutely Qiyas is a probable evidence, but according them it acceptable as a sanad of for Ijma, because the analogy trait is a logic back to an asal in the text of Al-Quran and As-Sunnah. For example, the consensus of the scholar on the prohibition of pork feet, because Qiyas with the prohibition of pork meat. As we know, pork meat is prohibited based on Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 3, Hurrimat alaykumul maytatu waddam walahmul khinzir. Walahmul khinzir, which mean pork meat. And the last resource is Maslahah. It also can be a sanad and not. The companion, which is Sahaba, agree on the validity of Maslahah as a sanad of Ijma. For example, the consensus of the companion to add the second azan during Osman bin Affan to inform the Muslim. The sanad for this Ijma in the Maslahah, which is to make more informed the Muslim about the prayer. And most important, however, Ijma based on Maslahah is subject to change if the Maslahah change. Okay, for rule of Ijma, basically there are three rules. First, Ijma play an important role in the development of Sharia and Islamic jurisprudence, and to know the legal ruling of new faith or issue. And only Ijma can put an end to doubt, because in Ijma they can ensure the correct interpretation of the Quran and the painful understanding and transmission of the Sunnah and the legitimate use of Ijtihad. So whatever is accepted by the entire Muslim community as true and correct must be accepted as such. Okay, for feasibility of Ijma in modern world, actually some modern scholars say that Ijma does not appear to be a practical principle in the modern time. However, Muslim scholars in the modern period are developing the concept of Ijma according to modern condition. I pick the view from three scholars. First, Abdul Wahab Khalaf, he from Egypt. According him, the ijma of classical definition, which is all style ijma, is no longer possible in modern time because of high number of scholars spread over continent, and only the local ijma can be established, which is useful in lawmaking through parliament, but they cannot be binding forever. And the second is Fazlur Rahman from Pakistan. The activity to consolidate the pupil consensus is referred to in the Quran as Shura, public deliberation. The source of ijma mechanism promote the involvement of the whole of society, including the non-Muslim, in the decision-making process. Therefore, when an ijma is achieved based on the majority principle, it is all the member of society together without any exception. And the last scholar is Abdul Karim Zaidan from Iraq. According him, a central fiqh academy should be established to conduct ijma in contemporary period. All jurists capable of doing ijtihad should be member of this academy. But today mostly collective ijtihad, which is ijtihad jama'i, take place in order to determine a ruling for particular issue. Actually, collective ijtihad is a practice of scholar whereby they make ijtihad collectively in order to derive ruling for particular issue or case. There are different between collective ijtihad and classical ijma. First, classical ijma require the presence of all living mujtahid, which is not attained by contemporary period of collective ijtihad, and any rule reached through collective ijtihad is considered irrevocable and cannot be challenged or reinterpreted by the later generation, which is not the case with collective ijtihad, just according to some scholar. Okay, for example, this is a collective ijtihad in modern Islamic finance ruling. And unanimous agreement of fatwa is found to operate takaful based on cooperation, and the rejection of conventional insurance because of its involvement of riba, gharar, maisir, ghish, wal-ghab, and al-jahl in the contract. So maybe you think this is ijma. Actually, it just collective ijma, not collective ijtihad, not ijma. For example, in Malaysia, the takaful insurance is haram by the Council of Islamic Faith Scholar in 1975. So it want to show this is about collective ijtihad, not ijma. Okay. For the conclusion, the ijma involve consensus usually between a group of Muslim scholars, the ulama, and may even involve the entire Muslim community, which is ummah. And ijma is the source of Sharia in Islamic jurisprudence, and ijma will render any ruling absolutely and binding. Is such a ruling based on a Quran, Sunnah, or Qiyas? Modern scholars have said that ijma does not appear to be a practical principle and cannot operate as a resource of law in the modern time, but actually it can be practiced if there are the establishment of Central Fiqh Academy to conduct Ijma in the contemporary period. Okay, that's all from me. I will pass to my partner about discuss about Qiyas.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nash-Farhah binti Azhar. Okay, I will present about the next topic, which is Qiyas, and also known as analytical reasoning. Okay, first thing first, we will look at our chapter outline, which I will present in this chapter. Okay, the first one is the introduction. Next is definition of Qiyas, then legality of Qiyas. Next is pillars of Qiyas, classification of Qiyas, application of Qiyas, and the last one is the condition of for validity of Qiyas, and also for the conclusion. Okay, so Qiyas or analytical reasoning is one of the sources of hukum syara that may use to make a decision on a certain issue. Qiyas is used when the nas is not there, according to majority. Analytical reasoning in Islam is the process of legal deduction according to which the jurist confronted with an unprecedented case bases his or her argument on the logic used in the Quran or Sunnah. Okay, so of course we need to look at the definition of qiyas. So qiyas literally means measuring or estimating one thing in terms of another. Therefore, Qiyas also means comparison to establish equality or similarity between two things. Technically, Qiyas is defined as extension of a Sharia value from the original case to a new case because the latter has the same effective cost and law as the former. Okay, so the assignment of hukum of an existing case found in the text of Quran, Sunnah or Ijma. The new case, whose hukum is not found in these sources on this basis of a common underlying attribute called illah of the hukum syara. Okay, so next we go into the legality of qiyas. Okay, the first one is the from Quran. Okay, in the Surah Al-Hajj, verse 2, Allah says, فَاعْتَبِرُوا يَا أُولِي الْأَبْصَارِ. Consider then, O people with eyes to see. So in this verse, Allah commands us to use the eyes, which mean the intellect, to consider things and compare them. The word itibar, fa'tabiru, the one itibar, implies moving from one thing or place to another. In the present context, it means moving one spot between things in an effort to compare them. Qiyas is legal reasoning that requires comparison between two things and moving hukum from one to other. Okay, the next one is from Sunnah. There are some evidence actually from the Sunnah. Okay, this is one of the evidence that I take. Okay, Qiyas is form of personal reasoning, which is ijtihad according to Imam Shafi'i. Qiyas, ijtihad is qiyas. In the hadith, one woman came to the Prophet ﷺ and said that her father had died because without performing the Hajj. So she asked, would it benefit him if she performed the Haji on behalf of her father? Then Prophet ﷺ told her, supposing your father had a debt to pay and you paid it on his behalf, would this benefit him? Then she said, yes. Then Prophet ﷺ said, the debt owing to Allah merit even greater consideration, which means higher priority. Okay. Okay, here the argument against Qiyas. Actually, there's no argument against Qiyas. Qiyas is accepted by the majority of jurists. because the proof of Qiyas are from Quran and Sunnah itself. So, and the ijtihad has been referred to Sunnah to in Sunnah. Ijtihad has been referred to in Sunnah and Qiyas. Qiyas is supported by the majority of the scholars as sources of law. So, what is Qiyas and Ijtihad? Qiyas is sometimes called Ijtihad too. And here, Qiyas is used in its figurative sense and not in actual sense. This means examination, nazar, or Ijtihad with its method. Shafi'i consider them identical, being two separate terms carrying the same meaning. So, based on Shafi'i, it says that Qiyas and Ijtihad um, it's same, but it is separate in the it is different in term. In term. Yeah. So next, the pillars of Qiyas. Okay, of course, the first one is Asl, original case, set of facts on which a ruling has been given. The second one, Hukum, ruling on the original case. The third one, Illah, underlying cause of ruling in the original case. And the last one is the new case which ruling to be given. Okay. So how to understand the pillars of Qiyas? Okay. This is the easiest example that I can show you guys. Okay. Okay. The first one, the original case, drinking wine. Okay. So what the hukum of drinking wine? It is prohibition, prohibited to drinking wine. Because what? Why? Why it is prohibited? Because the illah, the intoxicating effect to the person who drink wine. So how Qiyas is being used in this case when the new case come with the same illah, with the same effective cause. Okay, so for example, the new case, consumption of a new drink, a new kind of drink which give the same illah, the same effective cause, which is intoxicating effect. So here the hukum will be the same as the original case, which is it is prohibited to drink the new type of drinks. Okay, here the condition of pillars. The first one is for the new case. Okay, the Quran and Sunnah are the source of the new case, the original of all case. Okay, according to majority, one qiyas cannot form asal of another qiyas. Maliki jurists think a qiyas can be basis for another qiyas. Modern jurists Abu Zahra and Muhammad Zarqa agree on that and supported this view. Minority seems to be right as long as it does not contradict Nas of the Quran and Sunnah. Okay, so okay, okay, the next one is the condition of hukum. Condition pertaining to hukum ruling in the original case are the first one. The hukum should be established directly from Quran, Sunnah, or Ijma. This means that it should not be the hukum of the original case or a hukum extend to a new case through analogy or some other method of legalism, which means the hukum itself must be directly from Quran and Sunnah. Okay, the second one, determine illah should be found for the hukum of a text. The jury should be able to determine an illah for the hukum and illah that can be rationally understood to be the cause of the hukum. Okay, the third one, the the hukum should not have been abrogated Analogy cannot be constructed on the basis of a hukum that's been abrogated. The first one, the hukum should not be restricted to a specific case by another text. If a hukum is specific for someone or some occasion, it cannot be extended to another person. Okay, and the last one, the hukum should not be pertaining to an exemption. Analogy cannot be constructed upon exemption. Okay, the third one is condition of a new case. So what the condition for a new case? The first one is the text must be silent about its hukum. This means that the new case itself, um, the new case itself not express the hukum in the text. Okay. The second one, the illah of the original case should be found in the new case. The jury should be able to find the same illah in the new case that has found for the case mentioned in the text. Which means the new case and also the original case must have the same illah so that the qiyas can be used. Okay, and the last one is condition for illah. Okay, what is illah? Illah is the underlying cause of the hukum, an apparent and stable attribute that is either conterminous with the underlying rationale or the rationale is usually present when the attribute is. Okay, the first one, the illah must be apparent cause. Okay, an apparent cause is one that can easily be perceived by the sense, can be easily identified in household, cannot be something internal and concealed. The second one, illah should be consistent. Illah should be constant and stable attribute, mean it does not change in circumstance and does not vary from one person to another. And the last one is the illah should be extendable and not confined to the new case. If the attribute determined by mujtahid cannot be extended to another case, so the analogy cannot be used. The analogy will not be valid. Okay, the next one is illah should be an attribute that is compatible with the purpose of law. The effective cause illah must be munasib, proper according to mujtahid or scholar of fiqh. And the last one, according to majority, illah must be muta'addi. That is, it can be transferable to other cases, which is the effective cause may be clearly stated in the Nas, but such cases are not made. Which means it can be transferable to another case, to a new case. Okay, here the classification of qiyas. We have three types of qiyas. Okay, the first one is qiyas al-awla. The second one is qiyas al-musawi, and the last one is qiyas al-adna. So the first one, qiyas al-awla, superior qiyas, means where the effective cause is more evident in the new case than the original case. Okay, which means the illah is shown more in the new case compared to the original case. Okay, here we can see in Surah Al-Isra, verse 23. Okay, Allah said, فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا. Say not to them and a word of contempt, nor repay them, but address them in terms of honor. وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Okay, so how qiyas is used there? Okay, for the original case, saying to parents. So what the hukum is prohibited. So we are prohibited to say oof to our parents. Why? Because the cause is torment toward the parents. Okay. So how Qiyas is used here? We look at the new case. The new case is cursing and or beating parents. So for cursing and beating parents, it give more ilah towards the parent. It gives more effect to the parent, right? Rather than saying oof. So we can see here, yes, al-aula, the ilah. The ilah is um, is heavier here in the original case in the new case compared to original case. Okay, next is Qiyas al-Musawi. In Qiyas al-Musawi, analogy of equal. Ilah is present in the new case and in the original case and new case equally. Here in Surah An-Nisa, verse 2, to often restore their property when they reach their age, nor substitute your worthless thing for their good ones, and deform not their substance by mixing it up with your wool. For this is indeed in a great sin. Okay, so here, the original case here is consumption of orphans' property. Okay, what is the hukum of consumption of orphan property? Is it prohibited? Prohibition to use. So, okay, why? Because the practice cause is adalah destruction of orphan property. Okay, so we see the new case here, damaging of orphan property. It is it gives the same ilah toward the orphan property, which is destruction of orphan property. So we can see that the ilah in the new case and also for the original case is equal, is the same. Okay. And the last one is Qiyas al-Adna. In Qiyas al-Adna, analogy of inferior, ilah in new case is present less clearly than the original case. Okay. So here the example. Okay, the new case is the original case is drinking wine, which is the hukum is prohibition, which is prohibition of drinking wine, and because of the inla intoxication effects. So the new case is consumption of a new drinks or even drugs. It gives the effective cough cause which is it's less clear from the original case. Okay. Okay. Here you can see some examples. Okay. This is case one from Surah Al-Jumu'ah, verse 9. O you who believe, when the call is proclaimed to pray on the Friday, the day of assembly, hasten earnestly to the remembrance of God, and leave off business and traffic, that the best for you if you but know. Okay. So by using this analogy, by using Qiyas, this is prohibited to extend it to this is prohibited to another kind of activities such as agriculture or even working in the office and what so. So it is prohibited to do the activities uh, at the time of Jumu'ah prayer. Okay. The reason is because the underlying cause, that is division from Friday prayer, is common to all. Okay, next, the second case. The hadith forbidden for a man to make an offer of betrothal engagement to a woman who is already engaged to another man unless the latter discontinues the relationship. So, in case, the hadith mentioned that it is prohibited for a man to make an offer or engage with the woman that already engaged to another person, unless the woman already discontinues the relationship. The effective cause of this rule is to avoid conflict and hostility, which is unfriendly or aggressive feeling or behavior among those people. Okay. By analogy, it is the same to the Islamic ruling. Prohibition is extended to all transactions, which is the same illah to fund to be operative. Okay. And the last one, the third case. The Quran forbids the guardians to make offer property to those orphans who are weak of understanding, and it allows to give them the property when they come to age and maintain maturity of intellect. We hear from Surah An-Nisa, verse 2, to offer restore their property when they reach the age, nor substitute your worthless thing for their goods one, and devour not their substance by mixing it up with your bone. For this is indeed a great sin. Okay, from this verse, Allah has been derived by analogy that all transactions of a minor are not valid without the permission of the guardian. Why? Because the illah of the minor is the immaturity of understanding. Okay. Okay. Here, the condition for validity of qiyas. Okay, the first one. It is necessary for the validity of qiyas that the textual injunction about the original case should not be exceptional. The reason is that the legal cause of the law of the original case is determined for generalization. If a certain injunction is exceptional and confined to a particular case and situation that cannot be evaluated rationally and generalized. The second one, the law of the original case should not contradict human reason. This is because of the causation of a law designed to extend it to other parallel case by analogical comparison. In case of human reason, to reject the application of the law to a parallel case, analogical extension will not be valid. Next, the third one is it is necessary that a law should extend it on a legal ground, shari'i, and not on the lexical language or medical ground. If the original case is liable to extension, it should be extendable according to the parallel should be similar to the original case. If the original case is not extendable after the causation of the law, the analogy will not be operative. Analogy operates in two similar and equal cases. In the case of the original and the parallel varying, here cannot be made corresponding by the process of causation. In such a position, analogy will not be work. Okay, the fourth one, this condition is that after causation of the textual law of the original case should not be changed, which means it should remain the same after its extension of the parallel case on the new case. For the validity of qiyas, is that the wording of law, this is the last one, okay? for the condition for validity of Qiyas. For the validity of Qiyas is that the wording of law of the original case should not be changed after causation. The reason is that the textual injunction is prior to Qiyas in respect of letter and spirit. Qiyas is not valid in the presence of a textual law. Similarly, if it is not valid if the word of the law of the original case are changed. Okay, here the conclusion. The principle of Qiyas was developed by Muslim scholars with an intricate and complex mechanism. The purpose of this principle was to seek solution and problems that were not covered by the text and that which prop up in the wake to social change. The methods of Qiyas is structured in such a way to be made easy and convenient to apply to the new case of situation. Application of Qiyas as the first sources of Islamic law give to Sharia more feature and accommodate the new issue which need the Sharia opinion. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.